At a time when there is job loss everywhere, there is one vacancy that has not been filled for long. Not because there are no suitable or qualified candidates, but because of a name. The post that has been vacant is that of the Congress president. With just an interim president who does nothing much except keep the chair warm for her reluctant and, at times, recalcitrant son, the Congress is not only headless, but clueless. The only qualification needed is that the person who occupies the chair should have a Gandhi in his or her name. The Gandhis, Sonia, Rahul and Priyanka, do not want to occupy the chair and will not allow a non-Gandhi to step in. Long ago, there was a cartoon by the irrepressible R.K. Lakshman which showed one congressman coming up with a solution, that the new president should change his name to either Gandhi or Nehru. And it is this vacancy that has been troubling senior Congress leaders. With the party on a slippery slope due to once upon a time prince-in-waiting Rahul Gandhi, 23 brave men in the Congress thought it was time to stand up and speak. They were courageous enough to call a spade, something they should have done soon after the Congress fared poorly in last year's general elections.
हम उन लोगों में हैं 77 के बाद जो आज की कांग्रेस जो बनी है उसका एक हिस्सा है कांग्रेस बनाने वाले 77 के बाद जो बनी। हमको पीड़ा होगी जो 77 में नहीं थे या कांग्रेस के पार्ट का हिस्सा नहीं रहे हैं, जिनको पता नहीं इलेक्शंस न करने और न कराने से क्या नुकसान होता है, क्या फायदा है, वो उसकी आलोचना करेंगे। लेकिन हम जमीन से आए हैं, ब्लॉक सेक्रेटरी से शुरू किया हमने, डिस्ट्रिक्ट प्रेसिडेंट से शुरू किया है, पीसीसी प्रेसिडेंट से लेकर जनरल सेक्रेटरी तकरीबन हम पिछले 34 साल से वर्किंग कमेटी में हैं और पिछले 34 साल से हम 6 प्राइम मिनिस्टर और प्रेसिडेंटों के साथ, प्रधानमंत्रियों के साथ भी 5 प्रधानमंत्रियों के साथ मंत्री रहे और 6 प्रेसिडेंटों के साथ जनरल सेक्रेटरी रहे। वो प्राइम मिनिस्टर और प्रेसिडेंट ऐसे नहीं थे कि हमको जनरल सेक्रेटरी और मिनिस्टर इंदिरा गांधी से लेकर राजीव गांधी से लेकर नरसिम्हा राव तक और आज तक बनाते हैं। कुछ तो बात होगी, लेकिन जिनको कुछ भी नहीं मालूम है, जिनको अपॉइंटमेंट वाला कार्ड मिल गया है, वो सब विरोध करते हैं।
But it's never too late. The Congress has to pull up its socks now, well before the next general elections in 2024. The country needs a good and vibrant opposition to take on the BJP. Only then will democracy thrive. If Congress is serious about 2024, rebuilding cannot await another Rahul failure.
Strange situation now is that Rahul Gandhi does not want to become the president of the Congress party. Then why on earth is he trying to oppose somebody who is willing to take over or who is trying to lead the party? That is not known. He should either decide to take over or give the party reins to somebody else so that there is a future for the Congress. He should not say, oh, I want to be a background president and somebody else should be there so that I can drive the Congress. No, that's not the right idea. I think he should decide.
The G23 leaders have given key suggestions that include a full-time and effective leadership active in the field and visible and available at AICC and state headquarters, constitution of the Central Parliamentary Board for collective thinking and decision-making on organizational matters, policies and programs, elections at all levels in a transparent manner and elections to choose of CWC members. Nothing wrong in the letter. But the drama over the letter played to a predictable script. Instead of looking into the contents in the letter, it was dismissed as insubordination and even treachery, and the Congress Working Committee reposed its faith in the Nehru-Gandhi family. The demand for changes in the party organization did not come from ordinary party workers. The signatories included sitting MPs, senior leaders and former union ministers. The letter was written long ago. But what did the Congress do? The Gandhis and the gang around them chose to sit on it, not willing to discuss or debate.
It is this inaction that led to one among the G23 leaders, I should say a very brave man. He leaked that letter to the media. Now, he has done a great service because now that the letter is in public domain, the Congress will have to act. How the Congress is going to act is what we have to see. In most probability, the Congress will fill its posts with pro-Rahul Gandhi people and leave these people who wrote the letters outside. That may probably happen. Then it is a disaster.
Finally, the day-long Congress Working Committee meeting on August 24th, ended on a farcical note with a resolution that Sonia Gandhi would continue as the interim president till a solution is found or an agreement is reached. That is at best a band-aid fix that can peel off any time. The G23 leaders are upset because ever since Rahul resigned drowning in self-pity, he has been acting as a de facto party president. He either takes decision independently or on the advice of a few leaders whom he trusts. He has been consistently sidelining senior party leaders like Ghulam Nabi Azad, Kapil Sibal, Manish Tiwari etc.
हम जो ये कह रहे हैं कि भाई सोनिया गांधी के सोनिया गांधी तब रहेगी जब पार्टी प्रेसिडेंट रहेंगी। राहुल गांधी अगर प्राइम मिनिस्टर बनना चाहेंगे तो जब पार्टी मजबूत होगी तो तभी प्राइम मिनिस्टर बनेंगे ना। ये लोग जो इलेक्शन ही कभी नहीं चाहेंगे तो कभी नहीं प्राइम मिनिस्टर बनेंगे। उनको अगर प्राइम मिनिस्टर बनना है तो हमारी बातें सुनना होगा, इन छोटे भाइयों की बातें नहीं सुननी होंगी।
Rahul is a clever man. He takes all major decisions from behind the screen, but does not take the attendant responsibility. Of course, he regularly took on the government through social media, but for some unknown reason, he always seemed alone. He focused only on firing at Prime Minister Narendra Modi, but never presented a new agenda to India, especially the youth and middle class, the bulk of the electorate. Senior leaders cautioned him to change his strategy, but he wouldn't listen and looked more and more aloof. It is this aloofness which has cost the Congress in particular and Indian democracy in general. The charge made by Rahul loyalists and the coterie is that the G23 leader are rebels without a heart and their effort is a revolt. Like many assessments of Rahul, this one too is not fair. They have all been Nehru Gandhi loyalists to the core. Their only intention was to wake up the leadership and make them smell the coffee.
Sri Rahul Gandhi has resolutely led the fight against the government from the front. The CWC, reflecting the overwhelming view and desire of the rank and file of the Congress, unanimously resolved to strengthen the hands of Srimati Sonia Gandhi and Sri Rahul Gandhi in every possible way. The responsibility of every Congress worker and leader today is to fight the pernicious assault on Indian democracy, pluralism and diversity by the Modi government. The CWC unanimously requests Srimati Sonia Gandhi to continue to lead the Indian National Congress until such time as circumstances will permit an AICC session to be convened.
As Shashi Tharoor rightly put it, quoting Jawaharlal Nehru, that read, without passion and urge, there is a gradual oozing out of hope and vitality, a settling down on lower levels of existence, a slow merging into non-existence. We have become prisoners of the past and some part of its immobility sticks to us. The time to act has come, and today, the Congress has no leader of the stature of Nehru, Patel or Indira Gandhi to rescue them from this crisis. Of course, Sonia Gandhi has played a role in history by reviving the Congress when it was in a crisis. Just like today, in 1998, when she became the Congress president, the party was rapidly withering away. She led from the front, arrested its decline and helped the Congress to form the government in 2004. But now she is 73 and unwell. It is time for her to leave the battleground to either Rahul or some other leader who emerges as a consensus candidate.
In a way, Sonia Gandhi is the biggest hindrance to Rahul's progress. See, what she does is she listens to the advice of a lot of people who are very loyal to her, a very, very close inner circle, and then she conveys it to Rahul Gandhi and says, you act accordingly. Now, Rahul should be given a free hand. Sonia Gandhi has been doing a backseat driving for quite a number of years. Ever since Manmohan Singh took over, the poor Prime Minister who couldn't do anything because Sonia Gandhi was directing him and she was the backseat driver. I think that era has ended. Either let Rahul do what he wants or don't do anything. That should be the mentality. But Sonia Gandhi's this backseat driving and the pulling the strings from behind, that should stop if the Congress has to move forward. And these loyal people who are around Sonia Gandhi are people who put her ahead of the Congress, not the party. So she's supreme and the party comes next. That's not right.
Sadly, the Congress is incapable of looking beyond the Gandhis for leadership. The musical chairs between Sonia and Rahul has always been a farcical one. Undeniably, a large section of the party's leadership believes that the Nehru Gandhi family is the glue that holds the party together. Even when someone else is the face of the party, as was Manmohan Singh during his tenure as PM, the family, more so Sonia, pulled the strings. Dynasty, of course, exists in many regional parties. However, the Gandhi stranglehold over Congress is unmatched in its duration and scope.
CWC कांग्रेस अध्यक्षा को अधिकृत करती है कि उपरोक्त चुनौतियों के समाधान हेतु जरूरी संगठनात्मक बदलाव के कदम उठाएं। उपरोक्त विचार विमर्श एवं निष्कर्ष के प्रकाश में CWC एकमत से श्रीमती सोनिया गांधी से निवेदन करती है कि कोरोना काल में अखिल भारतीय कांग्रेस कमेटी के अगले अधिवेशन के बुलाए जाने तक वह भारतीय राष्ट्रीय कांग्रेस की अध्यक्षा के गरिमामय पद पर नेतृत्व करें।
In all probability, the CWC may once more fall at the feet of Rahul Gandhi, pleading him to take over as the president of the party. If so, he, or anyone else, must do three things: create and consolidate a new leadership. 2. Revive the ideologies of the Congress with youth in focus. 3. Cut the dead wood in the party and go for organizational purging. The starting point is that there should be only one leader at the top, which means either Rahul or Priyanka Gandhi Vadra. Sonia must step aside. There cannot be three centers of power in the Congress. If a non-Gandhi takes over, the Gandhis should not indulge in backseat driving or pull strings, just as Sonia Gandhi did to Manmohan Singh. Ideologically, the new party chief should reinvent the Congress by redefining many old concepts, abandon a few outdated ones and invent others to match young India. Finally, the new leader must go in for massive purging in the party. Like Narendra Modi, the new leader should retire the older ones and shunt out those refusing to change. There is also this logic that only a Gandhi can keep the vociferous Congress together. But 2014 and 2019 proved this wrong. The Gandhis are now only holding a rump outfit in Delhi while regional chieftains have emerged, like Ashok Gehlot, Amarinder Singh and Bhupesh Baghel, whose voices will carry more weight. Since 2014, the Congress has dramatically reduced from 200 plus seats to a meager 44 in the Lok Sabha. After that, the Congress lost numerous elections, including the general election in 2019 when its tally went up by a mere 8 seats. What happened? Its leaders, young and old, were protective about the Gandhis and were content passing the blame to each other rather than honestly reckoning with their own failings. The root of the Congress crisis is that of a leadership and cadre that sees office as privilege and inheritance, instead of a prize for hard work and perseverance. At the August 24 meeting, young leaders close to Rahul Gandhi reportedly blamed the party's fall on those who were ministers in the UPA II government. They were right. One reason for the UPA's debacle in 2014 was the perceived corruption and misgovernance that plagued Manmohan Singh's second term as Prime Minister. But then, there was absolutely no accountability. The same failed and corrupt leaders continue to occupy party positions, and a few have even been rewarded with berths in state governments and in parliament. Young leaders felt left out, and the more ambitious among them explored options outside the Congress rather than challenge the seniors within the party and force a change.
So, is this revolt unprecedented in the Congress? No. There were earlier revolts also. For example, in 1969, the Congress expelled Mrs. Indira Gandhi for anti-party activities. And then she went on to form a parallel party called the Congress R. And she revolted against the old guards. And finally, she emerged as the real Congress, and old guards like Bharati Desai, K. Kamaraj and all were sidelined. That was the first revolt in the Congress. And not surprisingly, Mrs. Gandhi was very strong, very young, and had the willpower to fight. And there she emerged as the leader.
But between 1991 and 96, a powerful non-Gandhi emerged, P.V. Narasimha Rao. He, along with Manmohan Singh, boldly introduced a slew of economic reforms aimed at young India. Then, in early 1990s, there was a revolt against this non-Gandhi because he failed to give adequate respect to Sonia Gandhi. The Congress High Command hit back. Despite his achievements, he was just another congressman. The Gandhis were so nasty that the Congress refused to keep his body in the AICC when he died on December 23, 2004, just because he was a non-Gandhi. The Congress soon went into a decline. In an effort to revive the party's sagging fortunes, Sonia Gandhi joined the Congress party as a primary member in the Calcutta plenary session in 1997. That upset senior leaders like Sharad Pawar, P.A. Sangama and Tariq Anwar, who raised a banner of revolt and had to leave the Congress to start their regional outfits. Sonia Gandhi took over the presidentship of the Congress in dramatic circumstances. Loyalists locked up an aging Sitaram Kasari, the party president, in a room in the AICC office even as Sonia Gandhi took charge. But today, the situation is different. The difference this time is threefold: there is no strong Gandhi at the helm and, secondly, the party has now been out of power at the national level for more than 6 years, the second longest period in its history, and third, the opponent, Narendra Modi and the BJP have emerged too strong for a challenge. But nothing is impossible in politics, especially in India. The Congress will also have to resolve the fight between the old guards and the young Turks. Recently, when Rajasthan Congress was in turmoil, one comment of an angry Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot stood out. Sounding livid, Gehlot pounced on his 42-year-old erstwhile deputy Sachin Pilot, saying, "Being merely good-looking, speaking English and giving sound bites is not everything in politics."
That is where the problem lies. The Congress has sequestered itself from the large middle class in India. And ironically, the middle class was a Congress construct. The Manmohan Singh government, Narasimha government, all these people were the middle class, and they were such an ambitious, middle class that they voted for the Congress. Today, where is that middle class? They've all moved to the BJP. Therein lies the problem for the Congress.
While the middle class and urban voters moved on to the BJP, rural voters opted for regional parties, leaving the Congress high and dry. While the Congress moved left with schemes for the poor, it ignored the ideologically malleable, economically ambitious and socially mobile middle class. The 2019 campaign was consumed by the Nyunatam Yojana, which promised that the party, if voted to power, would enact a law under which it would distribute cash to the bottom 20% of India's families in terms of wealth, as a minimum guarantee program. It was then hailed as a bold and unique move, but it made no sense to the middle class, which gravitated towards Modi. Since 2014, Modi has charmed the WhatsApp and Twitter fans. But all that can change if the Congress has the guts to fight it out with a president who can lead. Congress surely needs to reboot its political strategy. The starting point is the letter of the G23 leaders: discuss it openly, take decisions, and have a president to lead the party.